usually review movies that are still in theaters, considering the fact that you have to wait until you get it on DVD to show some footage and what you feel about the movie. But I did a spoiler-free review once I reviewed My Little Pony, the movie from last year, but that was just screen footage and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm just going to point this out that me and my brother, yesterday during Christmas Eve, watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And to be quite honest, I completely enjoy this movie. Now, I'm not a completely big Spider-Man fan, but I do watch the Marvel movies and I try to get myself sucked into the universe that they're in. I don't usually watch a lot of the Marvel movies because I'm not a fan of all the superheroes, but one of the best ones is Spider-Man. In this movie, if you can tell, a little kid named Miles is having a very down life when he has to suffer through a midlife crisis. But then he meets Spider-Man. And Spider-Man decides to team up with him because apparently he's from another dimension. And while other Spider-Mans, yes, this is actually the first time we're going to see several other different versions of Spider-Mans. Anime, a cartoon, and I think maybe a Sherlock Holmes or something. I don't know. But my point is that there are like 8 Spider-Mans if you count the one that you know what if you saw the movie. But overall, it's a really interesting idea. I mean, when you have different kinds of Spider-Mans, different kinds of characters like anime, a dog, and something in black and white, you can tell that they're trying to do something very unique. Out of all the Spider-Man movies, from what I can tell, is that either a teenager or adult you should become a Spider-Man and completely try to save the world. Now here, our main character, Miles, who is a teenager, is going to be the next Spider-Man. However, he isn't really proven to be the next Spider-Man. But he tries to prove to himself that he is going to be the one who is going to save the day at the end of the day. So to be quite honest, it's kind of interesting of what they're trying to do here. In other Spider-Man movies, from what I can tell, like I said, you can tell that they want to do an adaptation for their own kind of style, like the Spider-Man from the 2000s, loved by so many people, The Amazing Spider-Man, kind of a mixed bag. And as for Marvel's Spider-Man, well, it's basically them trying to build up on what they're going to do with Spider-Man. Keep in mind that they only completely have him make his appearance in the Civil War movie, and then in his movie, it was pretty good. But at the same time, I think that this Spider-Man movie is way better than those movies. But then again, that's all up for debate. So what can I say about the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Universe? I gotta say, it's that its animation is original and one of a kind. Kind of like the Lego movie. What I mean by that? Well, in the Lego movie, it was the first anime movie that had Legos being animation, and they have everything completely made out of Legos. What does this movie does? They completely have everything completely in a comic book universe, while different colors and completely having the characters move a little stiffly in order to fit the comic book feel. That, in my opinion, is a great way to have animation in a movie like this. Spider-Man in animation is completely difficult to capture the feel. Unlike in the Hulk 2003 movie when they try to hammer in the comic book thing by having pages constantly, I think this movie they did it completely better by not having this to be reminded that it's in the comic book, because this entire movie is a comic book adaptation done right. If when you see all the animations that they did in this movie, you can tell that they put a lot of effort and tried to be very unique for what they're trying to do. And believe me, 2018 was a really great year of Spider-Man. He had a great moment in the Infinity War movie. his PlayStation 4 game was amazing, and his own movie, Homecoming, I think, was a great movie. If maybe it was the sequel or something, I don't know. And now we got this to wrap up 2018. Now, I can understand that people may have mixed opinions about Spider-Man involving this, but it's their own kind of style. This adaptation is completely different since we get like 7 or 8 Spider-Mans instead of just one Spider-Man. With so many alternative universes completely separate from each other, anime, cartoon, you name it, you can tell that they're trying their best to have this completely different, but also really, really hilarious. I am not kidding that most of the comedy in this is just done right, and I laughed almost every single moment. This fast pace of what they're trying to do really works for the pacing. And I really enjoy how hilarious that Miles just tries to get used to his spider powers, but he just can't since he's a teenager. I'm not going to explain all the jokes, but I will say that if you see these movies, you pretty much know what's going to happen, but you have to admit that you laugh at that moment. So anyway, let's get into the other Spider-Mans, which is Penny Parker, Peter Parker, and Miles and Stacy. I can't spell her name. But my point is that these characters, they really don't do anything. I'm just going to say right now that they only appear, mainly Penny, Peter, and non-Peter Parker appear during the second half of this movie. They really don't do much whatsoever. Though, basically they're because, well, they want to have people in other universes to be part of this movie. I really call that a disappointment considering the fact that some of the characters like Porco and Penny didn't do much in this movie, but then again, they're trying to add comedy involving anime and cartoons. It was kind of a disappointment, but at the same time, the focus on this movie is on Miles Morales, I think. And since that he's the main star, and while Peter Parker is the wash-up Spider-Man from his dimension, you can tell that he tries to teach Miles something that he needs to understand what spiders can do, but at the same time, Miles is having a difficult time to handle it. But that's not an issue. For me, at least. Since that, you know how predictable it is, but it's also very humorous of the comedy that they've thrown in with Miles and Peter. It just really works like that. What I also like is that we get a Spider-Girl. To me, okay, I know I didn't want the comments, but I did. I was completely surprised that there was a Spider-Girl in this movie. It was kind of unique. I mean, we got Batgirl, Hawk Girl, if that's a thing, and Superwoman, if that's actually a thing. And I really think that having a Spider-Girl in this movie really fits, since that Miles and Stacy have several encounters in the movie, and you can tell that they're just not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to say that you may think that I'm telling the truth, but you don't know until you watch the movie yourself. So anyway, even though these characters are funny at their own right, they still didn't do much of an impact, like I said earlier, especially Penny Parker, since she's an anime girl, and how can you actually expect to see an anime girl in a Superman movie like this? It's actually kind of unexpected. I mean, cartoons, yeah, you can understand Peter Parker, but Penny Parker is just really unexpected and really made this movie really amazing for so many fans to see. Now, I'm not going to spoil the ending of this, but let's just say that, well, this isn't the only time we're going to see these Spider-Mans from their own universes. I think you know what I mean, but don't spoil anyone else if you know. Anyway, I really enjoy this movie so much. The comedy is just almost better than the Marvel movies. I mean, the kind of style of what they're trying to do with the situation that they're getting themselves in just never gets old. The characters are really likable for the most part. And I really say that after watching this movie yesterday with my brother, I can say that I can easily get this on DVD. You can say all you want on what you think what's the better Spider-Man movie is, but in my opinion, this is probably the best one I've ever seen from Spider-Man because of how unique and completely original it is. I would think that if there's going to be some other way that they're going to continue with this series, then I really think that I would be able to watch it again in theaters. You never know. You never know what's going to happen when you watch this movie after you walked out of the theater. You'll be thinking to yourself, what's the next for Spider-Man? Because that's what you want to think about after the amazing year Spider-Man had in 2018. So, if I get, so the rating I'm going to give this movie is an 8.5 out of 10. I'm not a big fan of Marvel movies, and I tried to keep up with it for the best that I could, mainly the movies, but throughout all the Marvel movies I've seen, even if this is not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universes series, I still think that this Marvel movie is one of my favorite movie out of all the movies. Well, except the Avengers. I'm Lonely Fanboy 40 here, and have yourself a Merry Christmas.